Hey there, welcome in. It's Heather with Heather's Healing, and I'm here to do a video about the new moon and solar eclipse that's happening this Saturday, March 29th, 2025. So yeah, thanks for being here. So I originally had everything like planned out. My notes were in order. And then Spirit asked me to go about doing this video in a totally different way. And so I understand why they're asking me to do this because there is a point to it. However, it has caused me to feel a little discombobulated, and now things are not in order. And um, I'm just really hoping that this will all make sense and flow together really nicely. So, where to begin? Okay, so where I think I'd like to start is just how magical I feel solar eclipses are. And if you have followed me for a while, you've heard me talk about solar eclipses and how much I love them, in particular, solar eclipses, more so than lunar. But what I love about it, and I can already feel the energy of this solar eclipse, and it doesn't matter if you can see it, if you're in a place where you can see it or not, you can feel it. I can already feel this one. They are so powerful. And what I really love about it is, hold on, is my microphone on? Okay. is it reminds me of when you are walking into another world. You are transitioning into like the Fey realm, for instance. If you've ever had that experience before, where it's almost like your whole body kind of goes a little tingly and a little numb. Nothing is really making sense, yet everything is very clear, but it's very obvious that you're no longer in the human realm. You're no longer in a place where everything makes intellectual sense. Um, and it's incredible, and you can feel it. You can feel it in your body, a sensation of feeling like really excited, anything's possible, but there's also a little bit of like what the hell is going on? Like there's a little bit of confusion, like butterflies in your stomach is kind of how it feels, but in a good way, not in a nervous or scared way, just in a I'm really curious. Anything's possible. That's the energy that I feel from solar eclipses, and that's why I love them so much. And they really bring through a really deep reflection of where you are, what is wanting to be integrated. And that's what I really feel. It's almost like the eclipses come in and they show us a profound reflection of ourselves or knowing of ourselves, something that we've been going through or working on. And then it allows that understanding and that knowing to like just sink into your body, like that knowing, that understanding, it just falls into your body. And it's like an integration happens. It's hard to explain in words, but that's what I feel happens at solar eclipses. And I feel like this happens to everyone, whether you are aware of it or not. However, I do feel like the more you are aware of what's going on and the more you are at some level of self-awareness, you can get even more out of these eclipses. And I just love new moons. So I like to do, uh, you know, these types of videos around new moons, around portals, that sort of thing, because I feel really good around new moons. I love the energy of it, and things just seem to click into place for me. And especially with solar eclipses, I love them. So I I've always done this for myself. I'll pull cards, I reflect, I ask for information from spirit about, what do I need to know? What's going on? What's like, just help me make sense of everything that's happening in my life. And I've done this for a very long time, and it's really, it's been very profound and helpful for me. And that's kind of the point of these videos is I'm going to bring through information for the collective that is here watching this video now and in the future. And I'm hoping that it will bring through insights or maybe a different way to look at something. So anyway, that's kind of the point of this video. So I'm going to start where the spirit just totally mixed things up for me. And I think that's also a message for me and for all of us, but I struggle with like being flexible sometimes, and I kind of like things to be in order because that just helps me. So anyway, I understand why they're doing that. So Sunday, I felt an energy come in really close to me, and I was like, what is this? I don't recognize this. And as many of you know, as you get working with spirit and you get working with your guides, or you get working with loved ones or people on the other side, you can really start to, you just know who's there. You know the energy that's standing next to you. And anyway, I had this energy that I hadn't felt before, and I was just trying to figure out, what is this energy? What is this energy? And so I was asking, I'm like, who is this? And I just kept seeing this image of a bird. And I was like, this is really annoying. Just tell me your name, tell me who you are. And again, nothing, just this image of a bird. So then I pulled some tarot cards out to try and like discern who this being is. And I meant to have this card out. And I kept pulling the star card from the traditional tarot. And so I'm like, what the hell? And on this card, there's an image of a bird. And I'm like, that's the bird I keep seeing. So I'm like, I'm getting kind of irritated. Why can't you just tell me your name and tell me who you are? So let me see if I can hurry and find the star card. So I'm like, well, that's an ibis. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to Google an ibis and see, what is the ibis about? Why am I seeing this ibis? And so as I got looking into this, hold on, let me find the card because this is going to distract me. Where's the card? Star card. So, here we go. And I pulled this card several times in a row. And there's, I don't know how well you can see it. There's a little bird back here, an ibis. And that's like what I was seeing in my mind. And that was the image that this being was showing me. And as I got Googling ibis and all of that, I'm like, oh my God, it's Thoth. That's the energy that came in next to me, was Thoth. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. I don't really know much about him. I don't have or her. It was interesting. And I was just kind of like, why couldn't you just tell me that? But then as I got looking into the energy of ibis, what that stands for, and feeling into the message of the ibis, I realized it was answering a question that I had asked, a personal question that I had asked a couple of days prior. And had that energy just told me what it was and who it was, I wouldn't have delved into the energy of the ibis, and I wouldn't have got one of my questions answered. And I thought that was really, it was really beautiful and kind of also annoying. But the point that Spirit wanted to make with that, there were several points, but one of them was, we're so conditioned now when we have a question to you just Google it and instantly you've got an answer. And so many of us are like that with Spirit. We ask a question and we have an idea of how we want it answered. I want to hear it, or I want to see it, or we have we want it right now. And yeah, spirit can do that. They can give us that information right then and there, but it doesn't always come through in the way that maybe you're expecting it to come through. But that doesn't mean that you're not getting an answer to your question or an answer to your prayer. And I realized part of the message that spirit wanted to bring through this solar eclipse new moon portal was getting really curious about your inner world, getting really curious about what's going on inside of you, and not just asking, not just asking the question, but really delving into it. And part of the magic that we are missing as humans living in this time is we don't take the time to really ponder things or get curious about things. We're so used to instant answers, Googling, having everything right there. And in wanting things so instantly, um, that does kind of cut us off from spirit, because we're not taking the time to cultivate a relationship with our guides, with God, with the other side. We're not taking the time to be quiet and reflect and delve into the questions that we're asking. We're not getting curious enough. That's part of the message that I was getting that was coming through really strong. And even though I knew I was irritated that Thoth or Thoth, however you want to say it, wouldn't just tell me, just give me the freaking answer. I knew why. I knew there had to be a reason. So as you cultivate the relationship with your guides, you start to realize and you see how they work. There's always like a method to their madness. It might seem nuts, but your questions will get answered, but it's not always in the way that, like I said, it's not always in the way that you want it answered. So get curious. Maybe step out of your comfort zone a little bit, go out of your way. I mean, it was not super hard for me to learn a lot about the ibis. That was not very hard. You Google it, there's tons of stuff. And I just started reading through different articles, and I learned a lot about the bird. And again, it answered a lot of my personal questions. And then it also opened up, because one of my other questions was, Spirit, what do you want me to do a video on? And then that brought through this information about how we cut off spirit by wanting things so instantly. And we're just that instant gratification, and just the need to slow down, get curious about yourself, get curious about the wisdom that your guides are wanting to bring through, and ask questions and seek. And that's something that Thoth was saying, that, people spent a lifetime doing, seeking answers, being curious. And, of course they couldn't just Google it. So it took a lot of effort, and it took lifetimes to gather information. And we have so much information at our fingertips now. He understands why we like the instant gratification, but also from his perspective, we could gain lifetimes of energy. We could gain lifetimes of information in one life if we took the time to delve deeper into ourselves and deeper into our psyches. And then, you can look up the logical information, Googling it online. So I thought that was really interesting. So that brought me into the rest of this reading, and things. And these are really subtle things. And I think that's the other thing that Spirit was really wanting to make clear, is nothing is random. I know we say that, but nothing is random. Everything happens for a reason, and things are linked together. And when you start to see these little things that kind of fold into each other, or they have meaning, or you'll see maybe you could categorize everything in one category. I mean, those are like the breadcrumbs that spirit leaves for us. And I find it really intriguing. And, but again, that's being curious, and that's also paying attention to little things. So Thoth coming through, asking us to be um, curious about our magic and our wisdom. We have a lot of wisdom to offer. We have a lot of magic to offer. Um, be curious about that. So one of the other things I like to do when I'm looking up the energy of a particular portal, gateway, high holiday, whatever it is, I like to look at the numerology of it. And I use, so I'm just looking at my notes because, like I said, they like discombobulated me because I had a list and now they're going out of order. So I like to look at the numerology. So the numerology of March 29th, 2025 is 23. So using the color mirror system, that bottle, the 23 bottle in that system is linked to Egypt and ancient wisdom. So then I was like, holy shit, that's like amazing. Because Thoth, he's an Egyptian god. He's the Egyptian god of writing and wisdom and magic. Um, the other thing that I thought was interesting about that is if you take 23, that's 5 if you add it together. And in the color mirror system, bottle 5 is linked with the planet Mercury. And the planet Mercury is connected to Thoth. So all of these things are like linking together. And then, at least in the circles that I travel in, Egypt and the pyramids have been talked about a lot recently. I thought that was interesting. I don't have a personal resonance with Egypt or anything like that. But you start seeing all these correspondences, and it's like, that's freaking cool. So Egypt's been in the news a lot. I've seen a lot of articles coming up regarding what's underneath the pyramids and what the pyramids might have been used for. And it sounds like there could be evidence to corroborate some of that. So it will be less like theory. Anyway, I'm not getting into all of that. That's definitely not my jam. I find it fascinating. I find it really interesting. I also find it really fascinating that Thoth came through and brought all of this together. So I thought that was really interesting. So definitely a lot of Egyptian energy coming through, ancient wisdom, being curious, and specifically, writing and speaking, wisdom, seeking magic. Thoth was like the magician in the tarot. How do you fit all these pieces together and what does it mean? Like getting really curious about that, for yourself. So I thought that was really interesting. The other thing that I was feeling quite strongly is throat chakra energy and third eye energy coming through. And the bottle number 23 is royal blue. And that's initiation. So it does feel like this solar eclipse and new moon is initiating us into a new energy, an energy of trusting your intuition, sharing your wisdom through writing or speaking. I feel like, and also through the arts, theatrical arts, speaking, acting, however that shows up for you. So that throat chakra energy, trusting that you've learned from your past challenges. I know it can be really, we often can go over and over and over things from our past, wondering, why that happened. What does it mean? This and that. And it's really great to get curious, but I really feel like we're being asked to um, trust that we've learned all that we can learn from some of those. And when I talk about past challenges, this feels more like childhood trauma. Trust that you have received or will receive the information that you need from that, and stop going over the stories. That was something that kept coming up. Stop going over and ruminating on all of these horrible things that happened in your past, because you're not a child anymore, specifically from childhood. There, I'm sure, are many traumas from, depending on how old you are, from adulthood that, this specifically feels like we're being asked to, um, in that end that chapter, close the door on that and move forward, and trust that anything else that we need to receive from that, will receive, but we don't need to keep going over the story. That was coming up a lot. Um, Trust that you've learned from past challenges. Now is the time to pause and integrate the lessons. There's sirens. I don't know if you could hear that. Now's the time to pause and integrate the lessons. This is a significant shift. It almost kind of feels like we're being catapulted forward. And that's also the magic of a solar eclipse. If you can, and when I was saying earlier, like how that energy falls into your body, like it thuds in, it's like a knowing, an integration, and it's an ending to, for example, those, you don't need to keep going over the childhood trauma. So now that you're able to close the door on that, it's like the solar eclipse, it catapults us forward. It's sort of like when you are playing a board game and you land on a square that's like move forward 10 places. It's that type of energy, where if you can let whatever is going to be integrate into your body, you're no longer going to keep going back to those past stories, specifically the childhood ones. You're not going to keep telling those stories over and over again. And if you allow that to happen, it catapults you forward. So it's like the universe just giving you just a nice push forward along your path. You could see it as like a leveling up. If you've been doing this work, okay, I'll say this: if you've been doing your work, that push is more gentle. And I think this is why some people have a really hard time with eclipses or even with retrogrades. They're not doing the work. So when the universe is going to give you a push regardless. So if you get that push and you've been doing your work, it feels like a gentle push. You kind of know what's going on. If you've not been doing your work, you're still going to get that push, but it's going to feel more like a shove on your face. Like, it's going to feel like the universe is knocking you upside the head. But it's being done in a loving way. It might not feel loving, but to help you move along your path. Um, Again, that's why I love the solar eclipses for that. So initiation, trusting, I think I might pull some cards on that. Because I want to see what else we're being initiated into, but I did pull some cards prior to this. But the message we don't need to hide. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to speak. It's safe to express yourself. Childhood traumas are falling away. And that was something that I was just talking about. The throat and third eye are really being activated at this time. And I know a lot of people, when they think, oh, third eye, intuition and all of that, yes, it is. But this is more about taking the magic that's in your mind and pulling that through your words, through expression, through writing into this physical realm, so that it can bless and help others. If that makes sense. The way, and it's not it almost feels like magic, magic that wants to come through you, magic that wants to be expressed in this world. And this could be a talent. This could be your gift of speaking, singing. It's going to be different for everybody. But I really encourage you to slow down and tap into that and see what's coming up for you. Also, pay attention to the little breadcrumbs, like I had mentioned about Thoth coming through, and then the ibis, and then that answered questions that I had asked. And then as I got doing the numerology, oh my gosh, now we're linking Mercury, the planet Mercury, and Thoth and Egypt into the solar eclipse. And then there's all of this news going on about the pyramids. I mean, it's things like that, and you'll start seeing it in your life more and more. The more you're engaging and paying attention. And again, this is spirit leaving you breadcrumbs. So really interesting. So no longer needing to hide behind a mask. Like I said, it's safe to be seen. The other color that was coming through really, really strongly was the color green. And the color green's also linked with the bottle 5 in the color mirror system. But green is inviting in new space, taking up new space, creating new spaces. It's all about expansion and hope for the future. And it's new possibilities, unlimited resources, unlimited possibilities. And I feel like part of why Spirit wants us to, take our imagination, take the magic and wisdom of our mind and bring it through our words, or bring it through writing, is because that's going to help expand our energy and expand our ability to see new possibilities. I almost feel like part of that initiation comes through us exploring that. And again, that's going to be different for each one of us. There's so many sirens. It's crazy. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The other thing one of the takeaways that I took from the ibis bird was digging deep for nourishment. And that was something that Thoth was talking about too, is part of what made life really enriching for the mystics of the past was that they dug deep for nourishment. They dug deep for wisdom, and they really had to dig for it. Linking the different correspondences together. So digging deep for nourishment. So I think what I'd like to do is talk about the message that I got from the ibis, and then I wanted to share the cards that I got for us, and then I want to pull cards on dive deeper into what we're being initiated into. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Does that sound good? Okay. They're saying yes, keep going. Okay. Sometimes I just have to trust that this is going to make sense, because I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm all over the place, and then I end the video and I'm like, shit, there's all these other things I wanted to say and I just totally forgot. So my takeaways from the ibis, flexibility, being able to be flexible. And what I found interesting about this, of course, it's good to be flexible, because anytime we're rigid, we're going to snap, we're going to break, and you can take that in many different ways. But I had been, about a year ago, I started getting the message that you need to be more flexible in your body. So I've been working on doing more stretches and that sort of thing to stretch out my body and be more flexible. And Spirit kept telling me, that's really going to help you communicate with us. And I'm like, well, that's dumb, but whatever. I'll do it. It's good for my body. And actually, it has been feeling really good. But what I started to realize is the more as above, so below. the more flexible we can be in our body, the more flexible and easy it is to communicate with them. And this might sound really strange, but it's really been true for me. And I think that that's because I have it's started to change the way I think, and I feel like that's why they're saying part of that initiation is going to come through being able to take from our mind and express it. It changes the way your brain works. It changes the way you think and see and interpret, and I mean all of that. And I really noticed that the more flexible you can be in your body, the more flexible and easier it is to work with spirit. You're just less rigid even in your thinking if your mind is more flexible, or if your body is more flexible. And so, remain flexible. Personal development is huge here, personal awareness. And the whole reason for that is it's just going to make life easier. It's so much easier. And continuous communion with the universe. That was another huge takeaway from the ibis bird, was continuous communion with the universe. Really paying attention. And it doesn't mean you've got to like read things into everything, but start being able to piece some of these things together. And I also think that shows spirit that, hey, they're listening, they're paying attention. Let's give them some more breadcrumbs and see what they make of it. And I found it really interesting that Thoth made me work a little bit for the information that I received. I thought that was really interesting, and again, kind of annoying too, but it was also really cool because there were so many pieces that I would have not seen had I not been looking into it and getting curious about it. Okay, so cards on initiation. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Yeah, so let's look at that. So the cards that I pulled for us, and I pulled 4 cards, and I instantly thought, okay, these are 2 totally different situations that are coming up. So the first card that I got was, can you see it? Ace of Pentacles. So new resources coming in, new talents is also what I really feel from this card. New modes of communication. But what really struck me with this was the talents, like new talents, discovering new talents, discovering new abilities about yourself. I feel like these are things that are coming through this solar eclipse. And I thought that was really interesting. And some of these new talents, they could be resources some of these talents could bring in more money. They could open doors to a new line of work, particularly around creative endeavors. And one that's popping into my head right now is like video editing or editing, like of anything, because that's a talent and a skill, and it's also very creative. I think you have to be very creative to be a good editor. So new talents, new abilities coming through. And what's really interesting, and I also feel like this is the reason why art is not focused on in school, and music and creative arts aren't focused on as much in school as maybe what they once were. I can feel Galactics coming through because they're big on this. That's a mode of connecting with spirit. When you think of a ballet dancer, think of someone that's really good at their craft. They've spent the time to cultivate that talent. One, that's a God-given gift. You can practice and practice, but if that is a talent and a God-given gift, you're going to be amazing at it. And that's also a way of connecting to spirit. My ears ringing now. That's huge. And I feel like we have been conditioned to stay so much in our intellectual mind and to kind of blow those things off because they're really dumb and not important. And that was done on purpose. I really do believe that was done on purpose to help sever that connection between us and the upper world, us and our guides, us and source. Part of how we connect to, and this is, I believe, going to be really helpful to those of you that have a hard time, or you say you have a hard time connecting to spirit. What is your talent? What do you enjoy doing? Tap into that, because that feels like a mode, a way in. Um, so what is that for you? Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it painting? Is it writing? What is it? Because that is probably your fastest way into connecting with your guides. Um, and something that the galactics want to point out, um, and I found this was really interesting. And man, if we could do this, and I feel like, is it the Heiner schools? Hopefully, I'm saying that right. I feel like those schools tap in tap into this closer than like U.S. public schools. But the Galactics talk about when their children are little, they watch what they enjoy doing as a child. Like, what do they enjoy playing with? What do they enjoy doing? And the parents are watching this and they're assessing this, and then that child's education is going to be geared around that, because that is their gift, that is their talent, and that's what they enjoy. So, some beings might be really gifted in, painting, writing, singing, drawing, building, using their mind for like mathematical things. And then their education is geared around that. And they end up specializing in whatever that is, because the galactics realize that is their God-given gift, talent. And we can have many of them. It doesn't have to be just one thing. But I really feel like we're being asked to tap into that. The other card that I pulled was the Queen of Swords. Now, and what I was feeling from this was, this is that expression, using words, writing, taking what is in your mind and putting it down on paper, or speaking it, singing it, getting it out. It's also being very honest. The Queen of Swords is very honest. She doesn't mess around with bullshit. If she feels like she's out of line or you're out of line, she definitely will let you know. So, being very authentic, standing in your power, and expressing is really important. I don't feel like going forward being passive and just hanging back. I don't think we're going to be able to do that anymore, without it being really uncomfortable and really painful. So those are the two cards that well, here's the four cards that I pulled, but I really feel like these were clues for us, the talents, and then expressing those talents specifically through writing, speaking. Those just kept coming up, especially with the throat chakra, especially with Thoth coming through, because he was about writing things down. There's something here about writing things down that's really important. And I think part of that too is for, the generations that come after, so that they can get to know you. And this is interesting. They can get to know you, which, when you were alive, that aspect of you that was here. And then that will also make it easier for them to connect with you when you pass, connecting with that aspect of you. That's interesting too. The other two cards that I pulled, we got the World, which talks about an ending and a completion. And then we got the Tower card, which talks about chaos and you know, being, this is the universe knocking you upside the head. And this is the universe like taking things into their hands and rearranging everything for you, which is never very comfortable. But what I really feel from this is we're being asked to, not just focus on these talents as a way of connecting to source, but it's also a way of cultivating your peace, because things are not going to get smoother out there in the world, at least probably not in our lifetime. I'll just say that. Um, so if you're wanting to have a sense of peace, if you're wanting to have expansion, if you're wanting to be open to new possibilities, and this is that green energy that I'm feeling coming in, you've got to cultivate your talents. That's the way into that. And is also going to help open up your mind to new perspectives. What Spirit is saying is it's going to help clear the fog in your mind so that you can be more discerning. And I feel like the energy of green helps with that too. So you can be more discerning, so you can sort through a lot of the lies and the bullshit that are fed through. But there's so much here about cultivating your peace, your peaceful world, and that's going to come through talents, and then expressing that and sharing that. And if you have, knowledge and wisdom, if you have medicine that you can offer others, and we all do, share it with others. We're really being asked, and I feel like that's how we're being asked to step up and be in service to everyone here. We all have different experiences here. So your medicine, your talents, your magic it's filtered through you. It's filtered through how you express. It's filtered through the channel that is you. So it's going to be unique and different, even though it could be the exact same talent as somebody else, if that makes sense. It's still coming through you, and you are unique and different, and nobody else is you. Yeah, what were you guys just saying? Sorry, I kind of lost that. They were talking about yeah, sorry, I lost that. It was along the lines of um how your delivery of that medicine. That's a good word. Thank you. Your delivery of that medicine is unique to you. Nobody's going to deliver that message the same way as you, because we're all very different, and we each resonate with different people too. So I do think part of what we're being initiated into is the talents and gifts, but I did want to pull another card or so, looking at what is being initiated. So for me, new moons are about releasing. So we are releasing the stories of our childhood traumas. We're releasing that. Um, Anything that we were going to get from that, we've gotten from that. So time to shut the door on those stories. Stop using your wounding to tell your story. Stop using your wounds, I guess, to tell your story. And I see this a lot, and I feel like I'm seeing this more and more. I don't know, probably because it just happens a lot, but where you see people almost like introduce themselves by all the trauma that they went through. And then that becomes the story that they tell over and over and over and over again. And every time you tell that story, you're putting energy and power behind that story. So stop it. So this new moon, I release at new moons. That's what I do. It feels right to me. New moons are, if you're trying to call something in on a new moon, that feels like swimming upstream rather than going with the flow. So new moon's asking us to release the childhood traumas. The solar eclipse is asking us to be initiated into our God-given gifts. So be open to that. Don't force it. So, and if you have no idea what your talent might be, it could be something. First off, look back at what you enjoyed doing as a kid. Second, is there something that you enjoy, but for some reason you feel there is something about that makes you kind of cringe or pull back from it? Like, ooh, I'd be so embarrassed if somebody knew I liked that, or I'd be so embarrassed if somebody knew that that was my thing, or that I might be good at that, or that I'm interested in that. That can be a clue too. And I feel like that's like an ego. I think part of that might be like an ego thing, and then part of that I believe is conditioning from our childhood that has made its way into our subconscious, and it just kind of follows us. Anyway, take a look at that. That could be a clue. So what else are we being initiated into? And I'm inviting Thoth. I'm inviting the energy of Ibis to bring through any information that you wish to bring through. But I specifically want to know, what is being initiated at this solar eclipse? And then I'll pull some cards just looking at what else do you want us to know. So I don't want this video to be too long, and I'm kind of hungry. You might be able to hear my stomach growling. Okay. Initiation. What are we being initiated into? Well, I'm hearing finding our peace and finding our joy. Because again, when we change that frequency, that radiates out and that changes other people and it inspires other people. It kind of goes along with the message from that, are you feeding war, energy? And it might seem almost kind of selfish to cultivate a talent or something that you might feel is really pointless or stupid with everything going on in the world. That might feel selfish, but it really isn't. That's how you shift the energy of darkness and war and all of that. Okay. What are we being initiated into at this solar eclipse? Let's do 3 cards. Did I get 3 here? Okay. There's 1. So we've got the Empress. In threes, that was another thing that was coming up a lot, was the number 3. I didn't really dive deep into that, but just putting that out there. We got the Chariot. And we got the King of Pentacles. I've got chills around that. Okay, so these are big cards. So we've got the Empress. So what I feel, this is that what I was talking about cultivating that inner peace, that digging deep for nourishment. This is like inside you. This is your inner awareness, cultivating your inner Empress, which is nourishing. It is sustaining. All that you need, you get from within. But along with that comes needing to really trust in yourself, trust in your ability to discern, trust in your trust in your body. It's also what I'm hearing. Trust that your body knows what it's doing. Trust that your body knows how to heal itself. So I do feel like there's an initiating new ways of healing, new ways, and that was coming up a lot for me, because that was one of the questions that I was asking about, like hands-on healing. So it does feel like there are going to be we're being initiated into healing ourselves, hands-on healing. But also I feel like you're going to be open to seeking out new ways of healing. This is interesting too, but this is more of a personal thing. So I don't know that I really want to go into that, but well, maybe I will just mention it because I feel like this might be helpful for somebody because what they're talking about is you taking the lead for your physical healing. Several hours later. Okay, so I ran out of memory reset, and then had some technical problems. So it's much later, and I'm going to finish giving the message of these 3 cards, and that's going to be the message. Holy smokes, talk about needing to be flexible. I've had so many examples of needing to be flexible. It's super annoying, but I get it. So going back to what I was saying, we're being initiated into new modalities of healing, trusting that our body knows what it needs, tapping into the wisdom of your body and following that. And that might look like questioning doctors. If you don't feel like something is right for you, if you don't feel like or you feel like a procedure might be too invasive, or maybe I don't know, it doesn't feel right to you, trust that. And then also trust that you'll be led um, in the direction that is best for you. But this is really getting in tune with our bodies, creating a peaceful way of being and existing within our physical bodies, as well as within, you know, our world, our lives. The next card is the Chariot. Card number 8. This feels like where the flexibility is coming in, being open to, I want to say, being open to moving through life in a different way. So maybe this looks like transitioning to another, another living space, transitioning into a different employment. I feel like we're going to be um, drawn to, or maybe attracted to, things that we weren't interested in before, and being open to making those changes. And again, it's just stepping into greater alignment with ourselves, with our body. And, maybe where we're living, it isn't conducive to the lifestyle that our bodies would like to be living, or we would like to be living. It might not be, maybe the weather or something like that isn't conducive to your healing. So being open and flexible to new doors and new possibilities opening up. I also feel like this is tied into the our God-given gifts and talents being brought to our awareness, and what doors that might open for us. So being open to movement, open to change. And then we're being initiated in, and I love this, the King of Pentacles, into living a life that is perfect for us, that's perfect for our bodies, that's perfect for our families, that's just in greater alignment. And when we are in great alignment, it's easier to find the flow. And when we're in flow, it's easier for those resources to come into us. So having all of our needs met without, killing ourselves to make a living. And I feel it like this is also really trusting your intuition, really trusting your discernment and your guides, and source to lead you into that lifestyle, to lead you into a way of living that is perfect for you. And it doesn't need to be all about money. The King of Pentacles, he has everything that he needs, but everyone's resource needs are very different. So I feel like we're just being initiated into a totally different way of living, and creating a peaceful life that is more authentic and conducive to where our God-given talents are taking us, and where our bodies can be the healthiest, our mind, our spirit can be the healthiest, and where we can cultivate a stronger relationship with Source and with our guides and guardians. So it really is coming into greater alignment with spirit. It's like lining everything up. And maybe that's where that number 3 has been coming up for me so much. That, tapping into being fully present with your body, listening to the intuition of your body, listening to the needs and desires of your human self, and then also to the desires and wisdom from our higher self, our soul purpose. So that is my message. um, I hope you have a great new moon. Enjoy the solstice. Take some time out to really enjoy being in that energy. Um, yeah. And I'm just going to trust that this is going to bring through, the healing that you need. So we'll leave it there before something else goes wacky. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon.